Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the member of demon family and got harem? Huge shout out to YBARRA87 for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. For Blitzo, the founder of the Immediate Murder Professionals, or IMP for short, he was expecting the job his company took to be a quick one, but unfortunately for him it took an unexpected turn. His company had been opened about a month ago, and while it was still fresh, only a few people had hired them. Right now his latest client was a housewife whose husband had murdered her by poisoning her and making it look like a heart attack. While she was a good and caring person who did a lot of charity, she was in hell because she ran down a homeless man and left him to die on the streets. But in her defense, she was needed a lot more out of prison, but she made sure to start a charity to help the homeless right after that. Blitzo at first wanted to kick her out since he likes the homeless, more exactly looking down on them. However, the woman in front of him was willing to give him money, and that was more important. Apparently, the targets were her husband and his mistress, since he killed her for an insurance policy. As he escorted the client out, assuring her that her husband and mistress would be taken care of, he immediately summoned his staff. Millie and Moxxie, a husband and wife team that works for him, and his lovely daughter Luna. Okay everyone, we have a new job. Everyone get your weapons ready while Luna opens the portal. He shouted out only for Moxxie to speak up. Sir, before we start the mission, perhaps we should have a quick talk about Luna. Moxxie suggested as Blitzo looked at him. What's to talk about besides how adorable and precious she is? Blitzo replied as he hugged his adopted daughter, who just gave an annoyed look and growled. Oh, I don't know, how about the fact that she's a horrible receptionist and a big brat? Moxxie screamed out as Luna just looked at him annoyed. Do you have a problem with the way I do things, fatso? She asked in a taunting tone. Yes, I do, you brat. Moxxie shouted out only to be pulled aside by his wife Millie. It's okay, Mox. She told her husband as she then turned to her boss. Sir, maybe you should think about replacing Luna with someone a bit more responsible and reliable. She said. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't let Luna work here. Blitzo asked, annoyed that they wanted him to replace his daughter. How about the fact that she is 8 years old and shouldn't be left here alone when we're in the living world because she's still a child? Moxxie yelled out. Hey, I said one reason. Besides, I trust my little girl and I'm her father, so I can raise her however I want. Blitzo replied. But if you feel the need to talk about this more, then let's just stick a pin in it and get back to it never. Moxxie just rolled his eyes, and Millie comforted him. Blitzo then looked at his little girl who was looking at her phone. Okay Looney, open a portal to the living world. Luna just let out an annoyed sigh as she pulled out the grimoire. On it, Blitzo. She said as she then opened a portal and they jumped into it. Unfortunately for them, they didn't appear where they were supposed to thanks to the actions of others. A few minutes earlier. In the village outskirts of Konoha, a young 8-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was currently being stabbed while tied to a wooden post by the villagers of Konoha. Their reason for doing this was because they believed he was QB reborn as a human, giving them the chance to have their revenge for the destruction the QB caused the night Naruto was born 8 years ago. The villagers had believed they found a way to be rid of the demon that plagued their village once and for all thanks to a mysterious scroll one of them stumbled across. And it contained a ritual that would open a portal to the underworld. When the villager who found the scroll discovered this, he saw a way to send the demon where he belonged. Sharing his idea with several other villagers who hated Naruto, they immediately came up with a plan. Their first goal was to acquire a seal that would slow down the demon's healing ability. After they acquired that, their next step was to make sure that the third Hokage couldn't stop them or get in their way by making sure a council meeting was scheduled during that time where he couldn't get out of it. Once they had that, they paid a teacher at the ninja academy to deliver Naruto to them so they can tie him up and slap the seal on him. During this time they began to stab Naruto repeatedly since they wanted to make him extremely weak when he arrived in the underworld so the other demons could feast on him. Now was their chance to be free of the QB once and for all. Time for you to go to the underworld where you'll be devoured by other demons. A fate you deserve since you killed our loved ones. A man said to Naruto, who was too tired to keep awake or say anything, as he then opened the scroll and began chanting the words on it, causing a portal to open. But before the villagers could shove Naruto into, 3 small red demons popped out. Those demons were none other than Blitzo, Millie, and Moxxie. Okay, let's find our targets and kill them so I can go back home and spoil my little loony some more, while you two do whatever. Blitzo said as he then looked around, noticing that they were in some village outskirts surrounded by people who look like that have had a good shower in a long time and would know what electronics. Where the beep are we? He screamed out as he then looked at Moxxie. Moxxie, what did you do? I didn't do anything, sir. Moxxie responded. Oh, so you're blaming my sweet loony, Blitzo yelled back. No, I am not blaming her. Though when you think about it, she was the open who opened the portal. Moxxie responded, causing Blitzo to start yelling at him, while Millie took a look around trying to figure out where they were and noticed Naruto, who was tied to a wooden post with knives and daggers sticking out of him. You guys, I think you better take a look at this," Millie said, getting their attention, causing them to both give out a shocked and disgusted look. "What the beep?" Blitzo screamed out as he looked at the villagers there and shouted. "Why are you dipshits torturing that kid? This kid is nothing more than a demon. It is the QB reborn as a human." A villager shouted out as Blitzo just gave a confused look. "What the beep is a QB?" he asked, only for Moxxie to answer. "I believe it is a nine-tailed fox demon from Japanese lore, sir." "Moxxie, don't make things up if you don't know the answer," Blitzo said as he let out a scoff. "No, he's right, sir," Millie replied as she made her way to Naruto, knocking the villagers in her way to the side as she began to untie him and comfort him. "Why the beep? Do you beeps believe this kid is a demon?" Blitzo asked, since it was clear the humans in front of him were insane and stupid, only for them to explain about the destruction the QB caused them 8 years ago and how the 4th Hokage killed while making sure to giving it a human form so they could finish the job for him. When Blitzo heard this, all sorts of questions flooded into his mind, like what the beep was a Hokage and how they came up with that shit, but one certain question. "You say that this hurt Hokage killed a giant-ass fox demon with 9 tails. Well, here's a huge question. What happened to the beepin' body? I mean, something that would not be easy to get rid of. He turned it into that thing posing as a child," a villager replied. Blitzo just stared at the villager when he heard that. He had no idea what was with these humans, but it was clear they were beeping stupid. That doesn't make any beeping sense. How can he turn a huge demon into a human? Clearly you beeps are smoking something that is making you beeping stupid. We don't have to explain anything to you demons. After all, it's clear that the QB summoned them here to help them. The villager holding the scroll that was used yelled out, while Moxxie noticed the scroll and couldn't help but be a little curious. "What's that you have in your hand?" he asked. "None of your business," the villager shouted, only for Blitzo to grab it out of his hand. "Yeah, well, I'm making it my business," he shouted out as he began looking at it. "So you're the reason we're beeping here?" he screamed out. "What is it, sir?" Millie asked. "It's some kind scroll that can open a portal to hell," Blitzo replied. "How is that even possible? I thought the Grimoire was the only thing that could do that." Moxxie responded, only for his boss to yell out. "Does it look like I beeping? No, maybe Stolas would know, but I really don't want to talk to him right now," he replied as he then shuddered at the stuff that perverted bird would do to him. "Let's get out of here," he then said, only for Millie to protest. "Sir, we can't leave this little boy here. He's clearly not safe since these monsters can't see he's human, like them," she stated. "Well, what do you want to do, Millie? Take him with us?" Blitzo asked, only for Moxxie to respond. "Yes, we should bring him with us. He'll be a lot safer with us in hell than up here." "Oh, if he is a whole lot safer in hell, then he'll be a lot safer if he was adopted by you too," Blitzo replied in a sarcastic tone, since in his mind they would make horrible parents. "That's a great idea, sir," Millie shouted out as her eyes went with joy, while Moxxie knew he was being sarcastic but knew that Millie and he would be great parents to this little boy. "Yeah, not going to happen," Blitzo said, since the thought of them having a child might slow down and ruin the working environment of IMP, plus the kid might get in the way of his spying on them. Millie just looked sad hearing this, but luckily Moxxie knew what to say. "Sir, what if it was Luna that was being tortured?" he asked, causing Blitzo to turn around and look at him with anger in his eye, but with a calm look on his face. "That's a very dirty but clever trick, Moxxie, using my loony like that," he replied as he then turned around and began to explain. "Well, if you must know, I would slaughter these beepers as quickly as possible, giving them extremely painful deaths while saving the leader of the group for last. When it's his turn to die, I would torture him first and then cut off his beep before killing him. I would then use his beep as a toy until I get bored of it and get rid of it by tossing it into the cannibal colony, where it would be a snack for some demon." Blitzo then looked at Naruto and saw an image of Luna for a brief second, then turned back to Moxxie and smacked him. "Well, congratulations, Moxxie, you used a dirty trick to get me to change my mind, and here I thought you would never use an underhanded trick like that. That just makes me wonder if your beep is bigger than I think it is. Well, it's decided you two can keep the kid, and soon as we kill these beepers." He screamed out as the three of them began to kill the villagers there, leaving the leader for last. When the leader was the last one standing, he tried to make a run for it, only for Blitzo to shoot him in the ass, with Millie tearing off his arms and legs, while Blitzo sliced off his beep, putting it in his pocket for later. He was then finished off by Moxxie, who shot him in the head. When they were done, Millie grabbed Naruto, while Blitzo called Luna to open a portal back to hell for them. Unfortunately, they did not know that their day was going to get more interesting. Back in hell. Luna opened the portal expecting to see Blitzo, Millie, and Moxxie, but was surprised to see the extra person. A human boy who looked to be around her age being carried by Millie. She got a good look at him to see that he had been tortured. Not only that, but she could tell from her nose that this boy was not normal. What happened? Who is that? She asked. It's a long story. Blitzo answered, followed by Millie. This is our new son. Luna just gave a curious look hearing that. She had no idea what happened, but the important thing was to find out if the job was done. Should I text our client and tell them you completed the mission? She asked. Well, it turns out that the portal you made didn't send us to where we were supposed to go, and we ended up with this kid. Blitzo answered as he immediately hugged his daughter, causing her to roll her eyes in annoyance and growl. But I know it's not your fault, Looney, I blame Moxxie. Well, you still need to finish the job. We just opened and can't afford any bad reviews. She shouted out and was about to continue until she noticed the boy in Millie's arms start glowing red. What's happening to him? She asked as Millie quickly placed him on the couch. Everyone watched as red energy engulfed the boy. They watched as his boy started taking fox-like features with 9 tails sprouting from his behind. I guess those idiots were right. He was a demon. Blitzo stated as Millie stated that he was Moxxie and her son now. No, he's not a demon. He's human. Luna said, getting their attention. When you brought him in he had 3 scents on him. 1 scent was human while the other one was something I never smelled before, but if I had to describe it, I say it was angry and alive. What was the last one? Blitzo asked. I don't know, but it was placed on his chest and was quickly fading away the moment you brought him here. Luna answered. So what is he now? Blitzo just asked. Don't know, but he's definitely not a human anymore. Luna replied as the boy started to wake up. Naruto began waking up, feeling very groggy and in a lot of pain. As he got up to look around, he noticed 3 red demons standing in front of them and some kind of dog girl standing in front of him. As he looked at the red demons, he noticed 2 of them were looking at him with kindness, while the other just looked like he was annoyed. As for the dog girl, was just looking at something that was in her hands while taking an occasional glimpse at him. Thinking they were going to eat him as the villagers told him they would, he began screaming. Please don't eat me. He screamed out. Blitzo just rolled his eyes hearing that. Kid, relax, you're not going to get eaten. Well, unless you go down to the cannibal colony, those guys will rip you to pieces leaving nothing left. He said while letting out a huge laugh. So if you don't want to get eaten, just stay away from there. I mean, I never go there and so far no one has tried eating me. The moment Blitzo said that, Stolas entered the room. Oh, Blitzy. Stolas said as he walked into the room. I had to jinx it. Blitzo muttered out as he looked at Stolas. Now is not a good time, Stolas. He shouted out only for Moxxie to interrupt. Actually, sir, it's the perfect time since he could probably help us with what just happened. He said as Blitzo rolled his eyes knowing he was right but still didn't want to deal with Stolas. Stolas, however, took his eyes off of Blitzo for just a second and noticed a small boy resembling a QB. Oh my, a QB, I only thought they were made up myths. He said as he approached Naruto only for the scared boy to raise his hand, noticing they were now covered in orange fur. What that? Why are my hands covered in fur? He shouted out as he then felt his face. What's wrong with my face? He then screamed out as Luna went into Blitzo's office and brought Naruto a mirror. Here. She said as Blitzo started to scream. Hey, that's my vanity mirror. Only I'm allowed to look into it. He shouted out only for Luna to ignore him. Naruto just looked in shocked at what he saw. I guess I really am a demon. He said only for Millie to speak up. Well, the truth is you turned into this the moment we saved you from those villagers and brought you to hell. She told him while Naruto gave a surprised look and Stolas gave a curious one. I take it something happened on your latest job. Could you please tell me what happened? He asked as the imps told him what happened with Blitzo giving Stolas the scroll he took. Stolas listened to them very closely as he took a look at the scroll and saw it was basically a less powerful version of the portal spell in his grimoire. Eventually, it got to them bringing the boy back with them and him turning into a QB. He got a better idea of what happened when Luna explained about the smells on him. I believe I know why you arrived at the wrong destination. As for the boy, I sort of have an idea, but I'll need to ask him some questions. Well, explain it to us already. We don't have all day and we still need to do the job which should have been over by now, but instead we ended up at the wrong location. Blitzo screamed as Stolas let out a coo at the sight of Blitzy's angry look. Well, from what I heard and surmise, the portal you made was made at the same time those villagers made theirs, basically connecting the two. As for where you ended up, I believe it was the elemental nations. It happens to be a small island that's hidden from the rest of the world. The people of the island can use energy known as chakra, not to mention they have giant beasts made of chakra that use to roam the land. Stolas explained. It sounds like a long and complicated story. Blitzo replied. It is. Stolas confirmed. But it happens to be one of the things I have a huge interest in, along with legends of Japan and the clothes they wore during those times. Yeah, I don't need to know that. Blitzo responded. Well, I thought you already knew since you did take some of the kimonos I had. Stolas replied. Hey, if I look good in something then I'm gonna keep it. After all, this body deserves clothes that make it look beautiful and sexy. Blitzo shouted out as he snapped his fingers. Oh, I totally agree, Blitzy. Stolas said as he started to drool but then snapped out of it. Since it is a long story perhaps you should go do your job first, I'll be willing to look after your daughter and young Stolas, then paused as he then realized something and looked at Naruto. I'm sorry young man, but I don't know your name. Could you please tell me? He asked as Millie and Moxxie slapped themselves for not asking their future son's name, while Blitz commented about how dumb they were only for Luna to fire back that he didn't ask either. Naruto said as Stolas gave a smile. I believe that means Maelstrom. Stolas replied as Naruto gave a smile and nod. It's a fine strong name, and I believe it fits you perfectly, since you look like a fine strong young man. Stolas then thought to himself for a moment. Though when I think about it your name does sound familiar though I can't remember why. It will probably come to me later. Stolas then looked at Blitzo. You imps go and complete your job, I stay here and look after the children. Blitzo then approached Luna as she pulled out the grimoire. Make sure that perverted bird doesn't touch any of my stuff. He told her as she just rolled her eyes. Sure whatever, Blitzo. Luna replied as she then opened a portal. You know you could call me Dad. Blitzo said with a look of hope that she would. I could but I won't. Luna replied as her adoptive father gave a sad look, walked into the portal with Millie and Moxxie, then closed it. Stolas then sat down next to Naruto, while Luna sat down across from them and began to play with her phone. So Naruto, how old are you? He asked the young boy. About 8 years old. Naruto answered. You're 2 years younger than my daughter Octavia. Stolas responded. You have a daughter? Naruto asked. Yes, she's the light of my life. Stolas answered. Right now she's attending a royal banquet with her mother. It was for women of royalty so I didn't need to go, so I came to visit my very good friend Blitzo today. You two must be very best friends. Naruto replied as Luna started to snicker. You don't know the half of it. She said as Naruto gave a curious look, confused by what she meant. Well, I think that's the appropriate answer for you. Stolas replied, getting back Naruto's attention. So you two must have a lot of sleepovers then? Naruto then asked, causing Luna to start laughing really loud. You don't know how right you are about that. She cackled out as Stolas saw the look of innocence in Naruto's eyes and knew he had no clue about Luna's remark. Well, yes we do but never at my house. He answered. Why not? Naruto then asked as Luna gave a curious look at the royal, wondering what his answer was going to be. Well, my wife wouldn't approve of my friendship with Blitzo. Stolas replied, making sure to carefully phrase it. Why would she care about who you're friends with? I mean, what is it about your friendship with him she would like? Naruto asked. Well, it's because Blitzo's an imp. You see, imps happen to be the lowest class of demons in hell, and my wife doesn't want anyone in the family to associate with anyone who is below us. Stolas told Naruto, since it part of it was true. Well, who cares what she thinks? If you want to be friends with someone then do it. Naruto shouted out. Stolas just looked at Naruto, giving him a small smile. It was something about him that he couldn't help but like. Well, that's why I'm keeping my friendship with Blitzo a secret from everyone. You see, if she found out about our friendship then she would end our marriage. Stolas just told him since it was true. Well, that's just stupid. But then again I really don't know the laws around here. Naruto responded as he then looked at Stolas. Though it seems to me your wife had a huge stick up her butt. He then told him, causing both Stolas and Luna to laugh. I suppose it does look that way, doesn't it? Stolas replied. When he thought about it, Stella was very demanding, wanting the family to look perfect. To be honest, ever since she married into his family it was all about maintaining the family image, trying to make them look and be elite. It was very stressful to him and Octavia, no doubt she would need some cheering up tomorrow. Though I have to know, if your wife does end your marriage over your friendship, would you still stay in your daughter's life? Naruto then asked, getting the royal's attention. Stolas did not need a moment to think since he knew the answer. Yes, Octavia is my daughter and I will never leave her behind. I don't care if my wife tries to keep me from her, I will fight tooth and nail to be there for my little girl. Nothing will keep me away. Stolas shouted out while his voice shifted into a demonic tone, scaring Naruto. Seeing this he decided to change the subject. Tell me Naruto, how much do you know about the elemental nations? He asked. Not much. For some reason, I'm always kicked out of class for something I didn't do. Naruto answered. Well then, I'll try and teach you what you don't know, starting with the demons there. Stolas replied, causing Naruto to give a scared look. There are demons in the elemental nations? He asked. Yes, quite a few. Stolas replied. One of them happens to be a troublemaker that goes by the name Jashin. He passes him off as a god recruiting people to kill others in his name by giving them immortality in exchange for human sacrifices. It was at that moment Luna decided to speak up. Hold on, you're telling us that there's a demon passing himself off as a god, let alone demanding human sacrifices in his name, she shouted out only for Stolas to confirm by giving her a nod. That can't be possible. King Lucifer would blow a gasket and go up to the living world to deal with that piece of shit, since in a way that's like saying he's him. Stolas just sighed. King Lucifer knows about him, but refuses to do anything about him because of the way the elemental nations is. To be honest, he wants nothing more than the destruction of that nation and is allowing it by ignoring the demons there. He explained as Naruto looked at him. Why would he want that? He asked, confused why the king of hell hated the elemental nations and wished for its destruction. Well, his main problem with it has to do with the actions of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage of Konoha. Stolas answered as Naruto gave a surprised look. Konoha? That's my village. Naruto replied as Stolas gave him a surprised look. It is? Well, that's certainly a coincidence. He stated as he went on. You see, Hashirama wanted to be the person to bring peace to the elemental nations. His first step was creating the village of Konoha with his friend Madara Uchiha's clan, his wife's clan, and finally his clan. Unfortunately, certain circumstances led Madara to leave Konoha, stating it was nothing but a failure and would destroy it. His actions lead to Hashirama battling and defeating him, but in that process, he made what King Lucifer considers the biggest mistake ever. You see, Madara was controlling one of the 9 giant beasts made of chakra against its will in his fight against Hashirama, but Hashirama was able to break his control over it. Unfortunately, after the battle, he decided it was too dangerous to let loose and had his wife seal it into her. To make matters worse, he came up with the idea to capture the rest of the giant beast of chakra and give them to the other ninja villages, sealing them into newborns in hopes of bringing peace. Well, that's just stupid. Luna pointed out. Indeed it was, as these newborns were treated like monsters while Hashirama's wife was not. Of course, what happened to her was kept secret because Konoha knew they would end up in a war with her clan. However, the biggest problem of the elemental nations is what came after Hashirama and his brother Tobirama died. You see, Hashirama's wife was getting close to death and when she died the beast inside her would be freed. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, could not allow it to get loose and be free. Naruto gave a surprised look hearing the old man's name as Stolas continued. He went to her clan in agreement with finding someone to seal the beast into. The clan head agreed to give them his daughter in exchange that she would still be allowed back to visit and she was to be treated fairly. Hiruzen agreed to this, but unknown to the head this was all a lie. Hiruzen never believed in the beliefs Hashirama and his brother had with the village. In his mind, Konoha was to remain the strongest, even if it meant the destruction of their allies. The clan belonging to Hashirama's wife was very strong, and other ninja villages feared them, even Konoha. Hiruzen decided he was going to get rid of them shortly after he got the clan head's daughter, so it would be easy to condition her into a loyal weapon. The day she was retrieved, he had his student Jiraiya weaken the seal around the village while sending a message to the other villages, letting them know that the seals were weakened and they had the chance to be rid of them. The other villages saw this and launched their attack, destroying the village and clan, leaving only a handful of them left. Thanks to Konoha, the Uzumakis were nearly brought to extinction. Naruto gave a curious look hearing that. I came from a clan. He asked, causing Stolas to look at him. You're an Uzumaki? Stolas then asked. Naruto just gave him a nod. Yep, Naruto Uzumaki. He stated, causing Stolas to give a shocked look. Oh, dear. I knew that name sounded familiar. He said as he gave a worried look. This is very concerning. You know something about Naruto, don't you? Luna asked as Naruto gave a curious look. I really can't say anymore. He responded as Luna and Naruto were going to protest only for Luna's phone to start ringing with Blitzo calling, telling her to open a portal, which she did. The moment the imps returned, Stolas quickly approached. We need to have a private discussion now. He said as the head imp looked at him with a disgusted look on his face. Look, I am not in the mood to talk dirty to you. Blitzo stated only for Stolas to shake his head. No, I mean I need to talk to you and your employees in private about Naruto. He replied. Why? Moxxie asked, curious why he needed to talk to them about the boy they were going to adopt. Apparently Stolas knows something big about Naruto but won't tell us. Luna answered as the imps looked at the royal. How big? Millie asked. It's very big. I don't know what your plans are for him, but you need to know everything I know about him. Stolas answered. If it's about me, why don't you just tell me? Why is it everyone seems to keep things from me? What is it that makes everyone hate me? Naruto asked as he began to cry only to be comforted by Millie. Now Naruto, we just want to find out everything there is about you, but I promise you once we know everything we will tell you and won't leave a thing out. Okay. She said to him in a calm and soothing voice. Really? He asked only for Moxxie to answer. Yes, we don't plan to keep anything from you. He said as he looked at Stolas, who then went into the meeting room followed by Millie and him, while Blitzo walked towards Luna. Okay, it looks like I'll be in there for a while, so you're just going to wait out here with him. He said as he glared at Naruto, who had no idea why. Now if he tries anything with you, just scream and I'll come out here and kick his ass. I'll be fine, Blitzo. She replied as she stared at her phone. You can call me Dad. He said to her only for her to roll her eyes. Not going to happen. She responded as he then went into the meeting room. About a few minutes later, shouting and screaming could be heard from the meeting room. As happened, Naruto just looked at Luna, who was staring at her phone, but stopped when she noticed this and got annoyed. What? She asked in an annoyed tone. I'm sorry. I just couldn't help but wonder why you call your dad by his first name. He replied. That's because he adopted me. Luna responded. So? That still makes him your dad. Naruto said, causing her to let out a groan. Let me explain some stuff to you. For one, I'm a hellhound, and hellhounds are seen as servants and hired help. We have no important status in hell and we'll never be important. As for Blitzo, he happened to adopt me from the hellhound shelter and decided to make me his daughter, which is stupid. She told him. You may think of it as stupid, but I don't. I think you're lucky. Naruto responded, causing her to look at him in disbelief. He didn't have to adopt you, he could have chosen any other hellhound, but he chose you. He could have treated you as a slave or something worse, but he didn't, he made you his daughter. He gave you something that I wish I had. And what's that? Luna asked, since she realized that Blitzo could have chosen someone else. He gave you family. Naruto answered. You have no idea how much I want one. How I wish I could have a parent to love me and tuck me in at night. Tell me I'm no longer alone and I don't have to be scared. That makes me jealous, and I can't help wish it was me who was adopted by him. Luna just thought to herself and knew he was right. Basically, everyone in the shelter thought she was a lost cause and didn't think she would be adopted. Everyone just assumed she would be there until she was 18 and shoved onto the street, since she would no longer need to stay there. Out of everything Blitzo had done for her, she was lucky. Sure, he was a huge pain, but to be honest, he was growing on her. Okay, for starters, you do not want him to adopt you. He can get very annoying very fast, but you are right, I am lucky. Perhaps I should try being nice to him more, but I can't promise anything. She said. Well, as long as you try, that's all I can ask. Naruto replied as the door to the meeting room opened and everyone walked out of it. Naruto just looked at the imps with Stolas standing next to Blitzo, while Millie and Moxxie approached him. Naruto, Stolas just told us everything he knew and it's not very pretty. To be honest, a part of me feels we shouldn't tell you, but Moxxie and I know you deserve to know. We just want you to know that you're not alone anymore and won't be ever again. She said as they began to tell him everything. Naruto just sat still as the grown-ups told him everything that Stolas knew and told them. Needless to say, Naruto was speechless and heartbroken to find out the truth about his parents and Konoha. How his father was actually the fourth Hokage, and on the night of his birth, someone released the QB that was sealed inside his mother, controlling it against its will and forcing it to attack the village. He was even more disappointed to find out his father forced him to carry the QB instead of letting it get away, knowing his future would be taken away and condemning him to suffer, since the village always came first and had to remain the strongest no matter what. Stolas didn't know if his mother was against it or for it, but Naruto didn't really care since she didn't try to stop it. Hearing the choices that were made that night by his parents and godparents just made Naruto realize he had no family. To make things even worse, Konoha wasn't even his home, just his prison. As for why Naruto looked like a QB, Stolas explained that the QB had always healed him whenever he had life-threatening injuries, but the moment the villagers slapped the seal on him, that slowed down the QB's healing process in an attempt to weaken him, and that the moment he arrived in hell, the seal immediately dissolved due to the energy in hell. Due to the state he was in and the fact that he was near death, the QB's healing factor went into overdrive, eventually merging its soul and energy into him, making him the new QB. That because of this, Naruto was now a demon. However, it was the last part that was the biggest shock of all to Naruto. He happened to be very important for the elemental nation's future. Since Stolas was always interested in the elemental nations, he would make it a habit to ask Lucifer about them whenever he saw him. Lucifer would only tell him what he thought Stolas should know, like the history and stuff like the giant beasts of chakra, until one night when he was very angry at certain events happening there, that he let Naruto's name slip and how he was important to the future of that island, only for humans there to get their hands on something they shouldn't have access to due to stupid toads and were manipulating it for their own gain. It was because of these actions Naruto's life made a living hell, and in the end, it would lead to their destruction. that they would probably cause his death leading to their doom since they think they could play God. When Lucifer realized what he had slipped out, he told Stolas not to let anyone know what he had told him, which he agreed to. Unfortunately, certain circumstances forced him to reveal what he knew, and now it was time for a difficult choice. You see, Naruto, it might be very hard for you to stay here given who you are and your destiny, whatever it may be, but I discussed it with Blitzo and his employees. They agreed that it will be your choice. Stolas said as he then told him his choices. Now we can send you back, but you should know it's going to be very hard for you. Konoha will probably enslave you or do worse things to you. What are my other choices? Naruto then asked. You can stay in hell and live here, but just know that there may be forces who try to force you back. Stolas replied as he then added. However, Millie and Moxxie had agreed to take you in and are willing to adopt you. If they do that, it could make it very hard for the other forces to send you back, but that won't stop them from trying. Millie and Moxxie then approached Naruto as Moxxie decided to speak to him. I understand this is a hard choice for you, Naruto, but you should know that my wife and I are willing to take you in and make you our son. I mean, you don't have to call us mom and dad right away, you can take your time. Just know we are willing to fight for you, so you don't have to worry about anyone trying to take you away from us. Moxxie was going to say more only for Naruto to quickly hug him. Thank you, Dad. He said as Moxxie hugged him back. Well, looks like he quickly accepted us. Millie shouted out as she then hugged the both of them tightly. Millie? Mom. Too tight. Moxxie and Naruto both shouted out at the same time only for Millie to release apologizing for her strength. Blitzo, however, had a problem with this. Now hold on. I'm completely against this. I mean, you heard what Stolas said, if he stays here that might just bring us trouble, and trouble happens to be very bad for me. I don't anything getting in my way or hurting my loony. He ranted out. Luna couldn't help but roll her eyes in annoyance, yet she still remembered what Naruto had said to her. She knew Naruto deserved to be happy and knew what just to say to make her adoptive father back off. Please, Dad, let Millie and Moxxie adopt Naruto. She said, causing him to stop yelling and look at her with joy in his eyes. You called me Dad. He shouted out as he quickly hugged her, causing her to let out a growl, which she stopped, letting out a small smile. Fine, he can stay, but just know I want him to pull his weight around here, so you better start preparing him for future jobs. He stated as Moxxie looked at him. You want him working with us? He asked as he looked at his boss, who was pushed away by Luna, stating that the hug was long enough. Yes, I do, Moxxie. After all, this is a company as a family and family should be working here. Blitzo replied as Millie agreed. Moxxie was going to object only for Naruto to ask. Does that mean you're my uncle? Why yes, it does. Just call me Uncle Blitzo. Blitzo shouted out. Moxxie saw Millie quickly agreeing with and knew he had no choice but to go with it. Fine, but that makes you the creepy uncle that invades everyone's privacy and no one ever likes to talk about. He said. I'll take it. Blitzo shouted out only for Stolas to stand right next to him. And I'll be your Uncle Blitzo's very special best friend. Stolas stated, causing Blitzo to glare at him. What are you going on about, you needy beep? He shouted out only for Luna to fill him in on what Naruto thinks their relationship is and how innocent he is. Yeah, I can't have that. Let me tell you what really goes on between Stolas and me. He said as Naruto looked at him with innocent eyes, but Moxxie to stand in his way. Sir, I would suggest you let us tell our son about your relationship in the future when we feel he's old enough. The white-hair imp stated only for his boss to give him an unamused look. Look, Moxxie, this happens to be hell, and in hell, there's no place for innocence. So why don't you get out of the way so I can tell him what he needs to know and take away his innocence? Blitzo stated. You are not taking our son's innocence. Moxxie shouted out with Millie backing him up while Luna started laughing. Naruto just looked in amazement as he watched his parents argue with their boss over his innocence, having no idea what they meant. However, Naruto knew he finally had a family that was willing to love and care for him, no matter how crazy they were. He had his own family, who cares if they're demons? So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.